Hello, everyone. I want to ask you something about this morning. How did your day begin? Did you wake up to an alarm, reach for your phone immediately, check messages and news before you had even fully opened your eyes? Did the first few minutes of your day already belong to someone else's agenda? To notifications, to news, to the demands of the digital world? Or did something different happen this morning? Did you take even a few minutes that belonged entirely to you? To your thoughts, your intentions, your own quiet beginning before the noise arrived? Research from the National Sleep Foundation shows that 74% of people check their phone within 15 minutes of waking, and 35% check it within 5 minutes. Before breakfast. Before a single intentional thought. Before giving their brain any time to transition from sleep to wakefulness with any kind of grace or purpose. Here is what this costs. Your morning mental state sets the neurological and hormonal tone for your entire day. Research by neuroscientist Andrew Huberman at Stanford University shows that the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking are a critical window during which cortisol, the brain's alertness hormone, rises naturally to its daily peak. How you use this window determines the quality of your focus, mood, and cognitive performance for the hours that follow. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what calm, successful people do in their mornings, why these habits create the mental conditions for their achievements, and how you can build a morning ritual that transforms your English practice, your focus, and the entire trajectory of your day. Stay with me, because mornings are where everything begins. Part 1. Why mornings matter more than any other time. Most people think of mornings as just the beginning of the day. But neuroscience reveals something more significant. Mornings are when your brain is in its most neurologically powerful state. And how you use that state determines everything that follows. During sleep, your brain consolidates the learning from the previous day, clears metabolic waste through the glymphatic system, and resets its neurotransmitter systems. You wake up, in a very real sense, with a freshly cleaned and reset brain. The question is what you do with it in the first moments of consciousness. Research by Wendy Troxell at the Rand Corporation shows that morning routines, consistent sequences of behavior in the first hour after waking, are among the strongest predictors of daily productivity and well-being. People with intentional morning routines report higher levels of energy, better mood, improved focus, and greater sense of purpose throughout the day. The prefrontal cortex, your brain center for executive function, planning, and high-level thinking, reaches its daily performance peak approximately 2 to 3 hours after waking. This means that the quality of your morning routine determines the quality of the brain you bring to your most important cognitive tasks, including your English practice. Calm, successful people do not leave their mornings to chance. They design them. They protect them. They treat the first hour of each day as the most valuable hour of the day. Because neurologically, it is. Part 2. What successful people do not do in the morning. Before we talk about what calm, successful people do in their mornings, let us talk about what they do not do. Because the absence of certain behaviors is as important as the presence of others. They do not check their phone immediately after waking. Research by the American Psychological Association shows that checking email or social media first thing in the morning activates your stress response before your body and mind have had time to transition fully from sleep. This early stress activation has been shown to increase anxiety and reduce cognitive flexibility for the remainder of the day. They do not start the day with news. Not because they are uninformed or indifferent to the world, but because news is designed to provoke emotional reaction. An emotional reaction in the first minutes of wakefulness primes the brain for a reactive rather than intentional day. Research by media psychologist Mary McNaughton Castle shows that heavy morning news consumption is associated with higher levels of daily stress, worry, and feelings of helplessness. They do not rush. The feeling of being behind from the first moment of the day, of needing to catch up immediately, activates the sympathetic nervous system and raises cortisol to stress levels rather than alertness levels. Research shows that people who feel rushed in the morning make 23% more errors throughout the day than those who begin calmly. And they do not begin the day without intention. Without some form of consideration of what matters, what they want to achieve, who they want to be that day. The brain defaults to habit and reaction without direction. Intention is what redirects it toward purpose. Part 3. The first habit. Morning movement. Research on the morning habits of high performers across fields reveals several consistent practices. The first and perhaps most universally shared is some form of physical movement shortly after waking. Exercise in the morning increases cerebral blood flow to the prefrontal cortex by up to 30% within minutes. Research by John Ratey at Harvard Medical School, author of Spark, shows that even brief morning exercise produces significant increases in brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, sometimes called miracle-grow for the brain. BDNF promotes the growth of new neurons and neural connections, and its presence in the brain is strongly associated with improved learning, memory, and mood. The movement does not need to be intense. Research shows that 20 minutes of moderate walking produces the same cognitive benefits as more intense exercise for the purposes of morning brain activation. The key is movement, specifically, the physical shift from horizontal rest to vertical activity that signals to the brain and body that the active period of the day has begun. For English learners, morning exercise creates a particularly powerful opportunity. Combining gentle movement with English audio, a podcast, an audiobook, or even English music, gives the language input an elevated neurological context. Research on state-dependent learning shows that information encoded during states of physical arousal, like exercise, is often more durably retained than information encoded during passive, sedentary states. Your morning walk is not just exercise. It is also a potential English practice session. And the brain you return with is sharper, more focused, and more receptive to learning than the brain you left with. Part 4. The second habit. Morning stillness. Here is a habit that appears in the morning routines of a remarkable proportion of the world's most calm and effective people. Some form of morning stillness. A period of non-stimulation, of quiet presence, before the demands of the day arrive. Research from Harvard Medical School shows that as little as 8 weeks of irregular meditation or mindfulness practice produces measurable changes in brain structure. Specifically, increased gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex and reduced gray matter density in the amygdala. This translates practically into improved focus, better emotional regulation, reduced anxiety, and greater cognitive flexibility. But morning stillness does not require formal meditation. For many people, the most effective morning stillness practice is simply sitting quietly for 5 to 10 minutes without any external input. No phone. No music. No news. Just the experience of being awake and present before anything is demanded of you. Research by the Mindfulness Research Center at UCLA shows that even this informal practice of quiet wakefulness, practiced consistently over 30 days, produces significant improvements in attention, working memory, and emotional well-being. The brain benefits from the absence of stimulation as much as it benefits from the presence of enriching input. For English learners, this morning stillness is where the learning from the previous day is most powerfully integrated. During those quiet morning minutes, the brain continues the consolidation work it began during sleep. New vocabulary, grammar patterns, and language intuitions that were practiced yesterday become more solidly encoded during the stillness of early morning. The quiet is not empty. It is full of the invisible work of learning. Part 5. The third habit. Morning intention. Here is a habit that distinguishes people who react to their day from people who direct it. Setting a morning intention. Taking a few minutes, before the day begins, to consciously decide what matters, what you want to achieve, and who you want to be. Research on implementation intentions by Peter Gollwitzer at New York University, which we discussed in our episode on discipline, shows that people who form specific intentions at the beginning of the day are 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through on their goals than those who simply hope to accomplish things. The specificity of intention is the key. Not, I want to practice English today, but, I will practice English for 25 minutes at 8 a.m. by listening to this specific podcast. Many high performers use written morning intentions, a practice sometimes called morning journaling, morning pages, or simply a daily planning ritual. Research by psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia shows that expressive writing, putting your thoughts and intentions into words on paper, significantly improves psychological clarity, reduces rumination, and increases follow-through on goals. The specific format matters less than the consistent practice. Some people write 3 things they are grateful for. Some write their top priorities for the day. Some write what they want to feel or embody. Some write in English, which makes the practice simultaneously a morning intention-setting ritual and an English writing practice. Writing your intentions in English for just 5 minutes each morning gives your brain 2 powerful gifts simultaneously: the clarity of intention that directs your day, and the English language practice that compounds toward fluency over weeks and months. Part 6. The 4th habit. Morning learning. Here is a habit that appears in the mornings of virtually every person known for exceptional intellectual achievement. The consistent practice of morning learning. Using some portion of the early hours for focused engagement with new ideas, new knowledge, or new skills. Research consistently shows that the morning hours, when cortisol is at its alertness peak and the prefrontal cortex is at its daily best, are the optimal time for complex cognitive work. For learning new language. For studying challenging material. For the kind of deep, focused thinking that produces genuine intellectual growth. Warren Buffett reads for approximately 5 to 6 hours every day, with much of this reading happening in the morning. Bill Gates reads 1 book per week, maintaining a consistent morning reading practice. Barack Obama reads every morning as a way of quieting his mind before the demands of decision-making begin. For English learners, the morning learning habit is perhaps the highest leverage habit you can build. 20 focused minutes of English practice in the morning, when your brain is at its neurological best, produces results that significantly outperform the same 20 minutes practiced in the evening, when your brain is depleted from the demands of the day. This is the research that should genuinely change when you practice English. Not if you have time. Not when you feel motivated. First thing in the morning, when your brain is ready to absorb, retain, and integrate new language at its highest capacity. Part 7. The 5th habit. Morning nourishment. Here is a habit that seems obvious but is violated by a remarkable proportion of people. Nourishing your brain in the morning. Giving it the physical resources it needs to perform at the level your goals require. Research from the Journal of Nutrition shows that eating a nutritious breakfast improves cognitive performance, including memory, attention, and processing speed, by a measurable margin compared to skipping breakfast. Studies specifically on academic performance show that students who eat breakfast score an average of 17 to 22% higher on tests of cognitive function than those who do not. Hydration is equally important. Your brain is approximately 75% water, and research shows that even mild dehydration of just 1 to 2% of body weight reduces cognitive performance by up to 10%. Most people wake up mildly dehydrated after 7 to 8 hours without fluids. Drinking 500 milliliters of water, roughly 2 glasses, within 30 minutes of waking has been shown to rehydrate the brain sufficiently to restore full cognitive function. Coffee and caffeine, consumed at the right time, can also enhance cognitive performance. Research by neuroscientist Andrew Huberman suggests waiting 90 to 120 minutes after waking before consuming caffeine, to avoid blunting the natural cortisol peak and to maximize caffeine's alertness effects when cortisol levels have begun to decline. For English learners, the implication is clear. The brain you bring to your morning English practice is partly determined by what you have eaten and drunk. A hydrated, nourished brain absorbs new language significantly more efficiently than a dehydrated, fasted one. Part 8. The Morning English Ritual. Let us put all of these habits together into something specific and practical. A morning English ritual that combines what neuroscience knows about peak learning states with what applied linguistics knows about effective language acquisition. Here is a sample morning English ritual that takes 30 minutes and can be adapted to your schedule. The first 5 minutes. Drink a full glass of water while reading or listening to English. This rehydrates your brain and immediately exposes it to language in a relaxed, low-pressure context. The next 10 minutes. English journaling. Write in English about your intentions for the day. What do you want to accomplish? How do you want to feel? What is one thing you are grateful for? This combines the cognitive benefits of morning intention setting with the language benefits of English writing production. The next 10 minutes. Focused English listening. A podcast, an audiobook, or a video at or slightly above your current level. Full attention. No other activity. This gives your peak state brain maximum exposure to natural English input. The final 5 minutes. English speaking. Speak out loud in English. Summarize what you just listened to. Describe your plans for the day. Express an idea you had during your journaling. Speaking consolidates what you have just listened to and activates your spoken English production pathways while your brain is at its most neurologically ready. This 30-minute ritual, practiced consistently every morning, will improve your English more significantly over 3 months than hours of scattered, unfocused practice throughout the day. Part 9. Protecting your morning. Here is the challenge that most people face when they try to build a morning habit. Other people and other demands enter the picture. Family responsibilities, unexpected urgencies, the pull of social obligations and digital distractions. Protecting your morning requires what James Clear calls a commitment device. A specific structural change to your environment that makes honoring your morning ritual easier than violating it. The most effective commitment device for morning habits is the night before ritual. Preparing your morning the evening before. Laying out your journal. Preparing your English learning materials. Setting your phone to do not disturb mode before sleeping. Even writing a note to yourself about what your morning ritual will include. These small preparations reduce the cognitive friction of beginning your morning ritual and significantly increase the probability that you will follow through. Research by B.J. Fogg at Stanford University shows that the biggest predictor of habit success is not motivation or willpower but friction. Habits that require low effort to begin are performed far more consistently than habits that require high effort to begin. Design your morning environment to make your ritual the path of least resistance. And be realistic about timing. A 30-minute morning ritual is achievable for most people. A 2-hour morning ritual is not, for most people with families and jobs and lives. Start with 10 minutes. Master that. Then expand to 20. Then 30. Build gradually, consistently, and without the perfectionism that makes people quit when they miss a day. Part 10. Your morning is your life. Here is the thought I want to leave you with, because it is perhaps the most important reframe about mornings that exists. The way you spend your mornings is, in a very real sense, the way you spend your life. Not because mornings are more important than other times, but because mornings reveal what you truly prioritize when no one is watching and nothing is demanded of you yet. If you spend your mornings on your phone, reacting to other people's agendas, absorbing news designed to make you anxious, you are revealing that distraction is your default state. If you spend your mornings with intention, with movement, with learning, with English, you are revealing that growth is your default state. Research by habit scientist Charles Duhigg shows that keystone habits, Foundational habits whose establishment tends to trigger positive changes in other areas of life are among the most powerful leverage points for behavioral change available. Morning rituals are, for many people, the most powerful keystone habit of all. When the morning goes well, the day tends to follow. You are not just building a morning habit. You are building the person who wakes up each morning with intention, focus, and the willingness to invest in their own growth. And that person, created one morning at a time, is the person who learns English, achieves goals, and lives a life that reflects their values and their potential. Final message. Every morning is a new beginning. Not a cliché. A neurological fact. You wake up each day with a freshly reset brain, a new supply of mental energy, and a completely open question of what this day will become. Most people hand that question over immediately to their phone, to the news, to the demands of others. And their day becomes what those things make it. Reactive. Scattered. Driven by the priorities of everyone except themselves. But you can choose differently. Starting tomorrow morning, or even tonight in how you prepare for it, you can claim your mornings as yours. 20 minutes of intentional quiet before the world arrives. 20 minutes of English practice when your brain is at its best. 20 minutes of movement that wakes your body and sharpens your mind. These are not luxuries. They are investments. In your English, in your mind, in the person you are becoming. Something inside you is ready for this. Something inside you has always known that your mornings could be something different. Something that sets the entire day on a different trajectory. Today is the day you begin. Now I want to hear from you. Write one English sentence in the comments. Tell me this. What is one morning habit you are going to start or protect this week? One honest sentence. Simple English. Your real commitment. I read every comment carefully. If this video helped you, subscribe to Gentle Wisdom. And remember, win the morning. Win the day. See you in the next video.